What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NFL Strategy Show. Only a couple more to go. Two more shows for the Monday morning quarterback edition, where we take a look at everything from the previous week. In this case, week 15, Sunday's main slate. I'm Dave Loughran on Twitter at Laffy_D, LOUGHY_D. And Josh Engleman with me at Josh Engleman on the Twitters. Adam Scherer as well at ShipMyMoney DFS. Give all of us a follow if you haven't done so yet. And, we're happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up and help us get to 50K subscribers. 44.5, Josh, 44,500 plus subscribers. We are well on our way to 50K thanks to these guys.
Thanks to me pushing it so frequently.
Oh, stop it. I get much more. My subscriber game's better than yours, but you got a better thumbs up game than mine, which apparently doesn't matter.
That one stings. No, I'm anxious to see what kind of boost we get starting tomorrow to kick off the NBA season. I bet that subscriber number is going to be massive for tomorrow and then for the 13 gamer on Wednesday. So that should be fun. 13
games. I'm going to have to do a real deep dive, Adam, into NBA. Fortunately for you, if there's one silver lining to doing NBA preseason content, and I promise you there are not many, it would be that it allows you to get a better understanding of what's going on with rosters and everything. Whereas someone like me, I'm going to have to start from scratch.
Yeah, I was on someone's radio show a couple days ago, and he asked about preseason, and I was like, I do not enjoy preseason, but the one nice thing is now I won't be up all night, like going into the first NBA slate, trying to figure out who plays where and what's going on, because I kind of already had to learn it.
For sure. I mean, I've been doing like 10, 11 NFL shows a week. So at this point, not a ton of time for NBA, but that's about to stop very shortly. But Josh, we've got a wild, once again, week 15 to break down, and I'm glad everyone's here to do this with us. I know there are a lot of people. This might be a niche show for some people, Josh, but I think the people that watch it each week like it because all of us could do terribly, and it doesn't even matter because we're still going over what worked and the crazy, wild approaches sometimes that win. We're going to go over the worst lineups, which has been a ton of fun, and people enjoy that as well. But all in all, it's good to get a look behind the curtain at how people are winning each week and how people are losing. And one thing that you and Adam do a lot is take a look at some of the best pros, whether it's Alex or many others, to see, hey, what did they do this week? Did they have similarities even though they lost? And maybe that means I did something similar to them, which I lost, but might not have done anything wrong. And on a 17-week season, you can do things right and still not have great results every week.
Yeah, I think it's really important to analyze looking back at the process of putting those lineups together and what people are doing, other than just looking at a top score thinking like, I needed 221 points. It's like, well, why did you need that? Who was owned? Where did that performance come from? It's really the only way to start to understand how to make better lineups, just generally speaking. And that was something that took me a while to even get to that point, where I can't even imagine if I went back and started looking at things that I was doing in 2016, 2017, the amount of fantasy points that I'm just giving up with no regard to ownership. Knowing now how important it is to really go back and look through this stuff has changed everything that I do.
Yep. Matt Riley says, I hope one of these days we are reviewing one of the host lineups or mine. Yes, I think we can all agree. That would be nice. Adam G. Joyner says he's new to Fantasy Crunch. I just want to get this out of the way quickly, that it won't find any lineups for him. And look, it's almost certainly settings. So I'm not going to get into all of that. You have something wrong in there, but I know that you and Josh have been doing a ton of videos, like evergreen videos on how to build lineups, on how to approach strategy, bankroll management, all of that stuff. Just hit on that real quick, because there's going to be a lot of new players coming into NBA and even for NFL as the season winds down.
On why Fantasy Cruncher is not making lineups?
No. Just in general, don't we have a Fantasy Cruncher? Josh, we have a Fantasy Cruncher tutorial video, and I thought, didn't we have a Fantasy Cruncher tutorial video? Maybe it's an older one.
We have a few. Okay. I've done some. Alex has some former reality hosts are on it. It's good like that. No. So anyway, G Joiner's question. I'm assuming this is for Showdown tonight. you need to change the advanced setting to allow players to play against your defense. That is
Probably
likely
right,
the
yeah.
issue.
Yep, that's probably it. But I want to throw it out there. These videos are a lot of them are free on the join pay tab. I thought on Awesemo.com too.
There's a landing page for all of the NBA content. So Adam wrote a wealth of different articles breaking down all the different possibilities you can be doing for the NBA, different types of cash games, GPPs, our projections, ownership, boom bust tool, all that sort of stuff. I did an accompanying video to everything that Adam did, but there should be a link pinned to the top of awesemo.com/NBA that has everything that we did in one little stop.
And I think shortly we're going to have one accompanying some of these tools that people ask so many questions about as well, right?
Correct.
Those are done, I think.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. The projections, the ownership, and the boom bust articles are already there too.
I know because our Twitter account tagged me 800 times this weekend telling me that they were posted.
Yeah, I'm going to see if we can get them like somehow embedded into the pages for the tools because some people have trouble finding them. But anyway,
sure.
Adam, how'd you do this week?
Broke even overall, down a little bit in tournaments, up a little bit in cash games. Jalen Hurts pissed me off to no end in cash games. But yeah, it was when you break even in NFL, it's a win, I think. So not too bad.
How about you, Josh?
Ended up bubbling cash after thinking that I was just going to smash cash yesterday. 2-game slate went well, but I had a like 99.9 percentile lineup yesterday that ended up putting me up a bunch in GPP. So that was nice.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Yeah. 211
I had a rough
like
main
that.
slate, showdown slate. Very nice.
Oh, you did well on Showdown?
What's that?
You did well on Showdown?
Yeah.
I got my ass kicked.
Yeah. What was it, like a 99.9 percentile lineup that I had? No, but it was good enough to get it back. And it looked really ugly until late in the game. So
yeah, shockingly stacking the Giants in cash didn't work out.
Oh, well, that would actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah. It was doing well at halftime, and then it just did nothing the rest of the game.
They had chances to get points.
Oh yeah,
early in the game.
Yeah, I was talking about it with Josh this morning. And I was like, honestly, I don't care because one, I couldn't find good plays on that showdown slate anyway, so it's not like I felt like I made a mistake. And two, the game just was ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. Not great. My lineup, the one that I just ran pretty much everywhere, was just Chubb captain, and then he ended up, and then Mayfield, Higgins, Browns, I think Hooper, and I forget who else it was, but
yep.
Yeah, I didn't have Chubb in cash, which was like a massive stand. And that part of it went perfectly fine. It's just that all of the other pieces did literally nothing.
Right. Yeah. I just honestly just went full out Browns because Colt McCoy, but
that's what I wanted to do. I just couldn't find a lineup that I liked that did it.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about what happened on the main slate, Josh. Week 15. We can hit on the Millie Maker here. It's amazing how many Millie Makers are run every single day. Or every single week, but this one, $10 entry, $3 million prize pool for week 15, 11-game slate. What did the winners lineup look like, and who was it?
Let me get to it. I'm scooting you over a little bit, making sure I had you cropped because
he won by 8 points.
I'm a weirdo that has to make sure it looks perfectly lined up on
single
everything.
Entry again.
Yeah. I appreciate that. The symmetrical left, right, all of that.
It's just a problem sometimes. All right. So Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Calvin Ridley, Corey Davis, Marvin Jones, Logan Thomas, Darnell Mooney, Seahawks D. So no Dalvin Cook, no Derrick Henry.
Wow. Which is not that crazy at all, as a matter of fact. And Adam, one of the things that I was talking about all week long is, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Mahomes, they're all great players. But last week, we had about 30 players and I'm including defenses, so if you took it out, it's probably like, 28 or 27, go for 25 plus points. Okay, 25 plus DraftKings points, almost 30 different players. So in the event that you have that happen or something close to that again, if Kelce and Hill go for 28, or even one goes for 28, one goes for 26, and Mahomes goes for 30, it doesn't necessarily lock you into a great spot. If Tony Pollard at 5,000 goes for 30 and Leonard Fournette ends up going for 22, unless of course you played them in the same lineup, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. It was just kind of a weird slate in that there were a lot of value plays that had legitimate upside, and we saw several of them come through. And then there were a lot of guys that were like really expensive that were obviously good, but there was also a really strong middle range, particularly at running back. So it definitely was one where you could approach roster construction in a lot of different ways, and getting like obviously if you get 28 to 30 points from a Derrick Henry or a Dalvin Cook, you're going to be happy and it helps. But it wasn't a slate where like you were dead if you didn't get those points.
Josh, again, wide receiver, running back,
Montgomery
no quarterback
and
Mooney. Again.
Yeah. At least
twice.
Hey,
it's two.
Twice.
It's two.
I didn't notice it either.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that either.
Oh my God, it happened again. How do you explain this? This is why all week long I'm saying, I think Cam Akers and Cooper Kupp makes for a really great, contrarian play. They scored like 15 total points, but the fact still remains. You're kidding me. Last week it was Montgomery and Robinson and AJ Brown, right? And Derrick Henry. This week it's Swift, Marvin Jones, Mooney, David Montgomery. You can't make this up. It's insane.
Should we be like forcing this now?
I know,
it seems like
that's
it's the only way to win $1
saying.
million. It's really annoying, honestly.
Again, though, it's running back wide receiver. It's not the double wide receiver, which I do think makes a difference.
Oh, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, I personally still don't do it just because there's enough plays where if I'm playing David Montgomery, I can play a different $3,900 receiver than Mooney. It's just, kind of a preference thing. But I think that there is a big difference, like Montgomery Mooney versus if you had done Robinson Mooney.
Yeah, I guess I've just been coming around to the idea of it lately because, I think it really depends on what team it is. Could it have worked yesterday if you went Leonard Fournette and Antonio Brown? Yeah, but the combinations to get that right. 8 players had 3 or more receptions, Josh, for the Bucs yesterday. It's just so hard to predict that. But there are teams, and we're seeing it where, like, I don't know, maybe the Bears are one of them. It's what? It's basically Montgomery, Robinson, and Mooney. So I just don't think it's that crazy. Wide receiver, no. But running back, wide receiver, yeah, because if you score 30 points and your running back has 2 of those touchdowns and the quarterback throws a couple others and they go to it's working.
Yeah, I think it's fine. And again, like for me, the reason that I don't do it is because like I think that there's enough other plays that you can go to.
Sure.
And for it's kind of, I think about it like and obviously this was a single entry lineup, so it's not the same process, but like for me, when I'm building 150 lineups in Fantasy Cruncher, I just want them to look as much like what I would hand build as I can. And I know that if I were like building this lineup, I would look at it and say, okay, let's play like, someone, Lynn Bowden instead of Mooney or something, since I have Montgomery. So that's why I do it. But again, I think it's close enough with running back wide receiver that it's a personal preference thing.
Totally get what you're saying. I do. But I think all 3 of us have at least been a little bit more open or willing to accept something like this over the past month of doing this very show.
No doubt.
And I don't know. I think that's why, look, if I wasn't doing this show, there's a good chance that each week I'm not going in and pulling this stuff up. Like I know a lot of times I will, but would I have known that this approach was actually working every week? I think now it's happened. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think it's happened in 3 of the last 4 weeks or 3 of the last 5. Because remember Thielen and Dalvin Cook?
Yeah. I'd say that it could be like 4 out of the last 6 or something. It feels really frequent. 3 weeks in a row like says John Johnson.
Yeah. Almost every week we talk about it. It feels like this is happening. So Hurts, Swift, Montgomery, Ridley, Davis, Marvin Jones, Logan Thomas, Darnell Mooney, and the Seattle Seahawks defense.
Oh, he had Thomas against the Seahawks defense too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're going to be hard pressed to come up with that lineup for
on
sure.
A single bullet too. Like this is
crazy.
Oof.
It's another single bullet. I honestly have never really had a huge issue with a one player against the defense because you're putting yourself in a position where you're going to have to throw. And even if you're bad at quarterback and you throw a pick six, that means you just have to come back and throw again. And if you throw another pick six, it means you have to throw again. So
yeah, and especially with pass catchers too on full PPR, it's not a big deal. It's another one where I think it's really personal preference. Like for me, I normally don't do it just because I normally don't feel strongly enough about any particular defense that I care about, switching it. But like weeks where I think there is a great defense play, I'll roster a pass catcher against them. I don't think it matters.
Especially a 4K tight end too. Like it's not as if it was DeAndre Hopkins at 80 something hundred. Like this is Logan Thomas Logan Thomas got there on, well, obviously he had a preposterous day. But that could just as easily be like 4 for 40 or something.
Yeah. And it may be a touchdown and a possession receiver type game. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Got to give the man some credit. He's now had 2 huge games over his last 3. But
I mean, 15 targets will do that.
Did he have 15 targets yesterday?
13 for 101.
Dwayne Haskins looked more like Alex Smith than Alex Smith normally does.
It's funny. I was going to say the one game was with Alex Smith at quarterback, and then this one was with Haskins. What did the second place lineup look like? If this is a double running back wide receiver stack, I'm walking away from this camera right now.
Well, it's one. Jalen Hurts, David Johnson, Tony Pollard, Ridley, CeeDee Lamb, Hopkins, Higbee, Woods, football team.
No, it's 2 pass catchers.
It's Pollard, Lamb.
And Woods, Higbee.
He did.
Oh, yeah. So I was looking for like running back plus wideout, not double pass catcher.
But still, that's even crazier. I still don't like that, but wow.
So, I mean, the key is just, you roster the running back and then you roster the receiver that's going to run back an onside kick at the end of the game.
I had a bunch of CeeDee Lamb. I was real happy about that shit.
Holy shit. Man, that's crazy. Higbee and Woods. I was so pissed with this Rams team because just Akers, I know he got hurt a little bit, but Jared Goff was terrible. And did you hear McVay? You do not hear coaches publicly say this, but he goes, "This is embarrassing. We should all be embarrassed."
It's like the biggest upset ever, basically. It's miserable.
Usually you should be embarrassed, but usually you don't say that to them. That you always hear these guys go, "It's a good football team. They work hard.
Right.
They needed to win." And now the Jets have taken themselves out of the top spot for Trevor Lawrence too. So
yeah, pretty big loss for them. Did you normally at least see? Did you see after the I don't remember who I think it was after the Chiefs Broncos game, which was close. Travis Kelce, was doing what you said and basically saying, yeah, that's a good team over there, but he kept calling them the Raiders.
Yes. I did see that. And hey, Denver played really well that game, and they at least have a decent defense. I don't know, but the Rams that was embarrassing. I mean, that was a really bad loss at home. 17.5 point favorites. Cooper Kupp. Just brutal game. Cam Akers. I kept checking, hoping that something would change. I really thought in the second half they'd blow up and still get the win. I'll tell you what, I'm so glad I was at my brother and sister-in-law's house, because I probably would have loaded up on Jets money line after the third quarter. I'm so glad I did it. Or I'm sorry, Rams money line.
I was like, you would have made money.
Good idea there, man. way to avoid the win.
Yeah. Oh, the Jets. Yeah. No, I would have. Come on. Is there anyone in the right mind that wasn't thinking the Rams come back and win that game?
Yeah, I just figured the Jets would stop playing or something.
Yeah.
Hey, we're switching offense to defense to offense. Let's get weird.
After what I saw against the Raiders the other day, hey, shit, I don't know. But
question for both of you guys. This is totally irrelevant to DFS. If you're Trevor Lawrence, would you just tell the teams this is the only place that I'm going?
You mean like Eli Manning and his dad did?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I wouldn't.
Why?
You know why? Here's the thing that bothers me. That whole notion is to say that a quarterback doesn't have enough faith in himself to bring a team out of the pits of hell.
Why would you want to go work for a garbage company?
What?
What?
They're going to clean house in a lot of spots. Now, I would go where I'm drafted.
This is the perfect opportunity to be look, I'm just going to go here.
I think the strongest argument, and I saw someone mention on Twitter last night, is New York income tax versus Florida income tax.
Well, there you go. That if you want to make that argument,
I would also not want to go to Jacksonville.
I'm on board with that, Adam.
Oh, I'd want to get Jacksonville's got some talent, I think.
Sure. But yeah, you want to talk? Yeah, California
owner, I
is
guess.
another one.
Yeah, I'm refusing to play for any team that is not in Texas or Florida, probably, or like the Titans.
That's a good point, though. I didn't think about that. California's got that. What is it called? Like the superstar tax, or like the something athlete tax, where it's an absurd amount. Like,
What? That doesn't sound like California.
no, not at all. Of course not. Maybe I have the wrong state. I don't know.
So
Third place.
yeah.
I want to get to the third place lineup after this, Josh, because if that has the same thing, I'm doing every single lineup like that from now on.
Now, Hurts, Montgomery, Pollard, Ridley, Hopkins, Emmanuel Sanders, Mark Andrews, Greg Ward, Seahawks D.
Oh, look, it's a 150 maxer with a normal looking lineup.
Yep.
Right. That's another good point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that one. That one's just like every other lineup that I generated. Plus,
Except for the Greg Ward part. I don't think you were that sharp.
well, plus 20 more fantasy points too.
Yeah.
All right. Ridley, Pollard, Montgomery. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. That makes sense.
I had some Greg Ward actually.
Oh, by the way, we talked a
Not that it
little bit
mattered.
about NBA at the top of the show. If you didn't get in on the Caruso promo code and all you did was miss the preseason stuff like the cheat sheets or whatever, get in on it now, because you get the entire first week of the NBA season for free. I'm saying free, but it's $1 for one single dollar. I mentioned this on the Showdown Strategy show for tonight's Monday Night Football game. Just did it with Matt Kajeski and Alex Brown. Check that out if you missed it after the show. Josh, here's how I put it, right? You know how NBA League Pass and MLB at Bat or whatever it is, they give you the first week for free.
Yes.
And then a lot of times you sign up. Well, in this case, we're basically giving it to you for free, but instead of just paying more money with no potential return to something like League Pass or at Bat, you're paying $1 and very easily making money back.
Yeah.
So it's an investment. It's not just something where you're saying, all right, I'll put $1 in, see what it is. Maybe I like it. It's an investment. It's a legitimate investment. And if your investment starts with $1 to turn it into something much bigger, you would be, foolish not to try it. And we'd love to have you over there, because it's all of our NBA tools, right? Every NBA tool we have for the first week.
It's going to be, I mean, we have so much NBA content, whether it's projections, ownership, boom, bust, like those three things together cover everything that you need to build a lineup in like the best possible way. I love that boom bust tool so much so that I've basically recreated
it for football
myself
now too.
I know, it's so good. I love it. I love all the stuff that we have behind the paywall.
And Adam, you're heading up the NBA department this year. And I know you and Alex and everybody had got some pretty exciting stuff in the works. I don't know if we can talk about it yet, but I'm pretty stoked for some of the new stuff we have coming down the pike.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff coming out. I think it'll be a really exciting season. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
All right. So let's go with the chalk and the bust report, as we do every week here on the Monday Morning Quarterback Show. Who were our highest owned players this week? Kamara's got to be number one.
Oh, Kamara by a mile too.
Okay.
Yeah. Alvin Kamara, 41% owned. Then Derrick Henry at 34. Brandon Ayuk at 29. T.Y. Hilton at 26, which is hysterical.
Wow.
Fournette at 23. Jonathan Taylor, 22.5. And then Emmanuel Sanders at 20. That's everybody north of 20%.
Wow. I was, I take the L on Leonard Fournette. Alex was right. Ian Harditz and I kind of talked about it when he tweeted about on the Contrary Show that Leonard Fournette is the easiest value play of the week. And we were averse to that notion just because Leonard Fournette was literally inactive coach's decision last week. And I thought, maybe you see more Vaughn and McCoy, but good call, Alex. That's why you are the number one DFS player and I'm not. But he had
to be fair,
game.
Leonard Fournette sucked, except for the Bucs offense was good and he happened to run it in twice.
I know, but what can I say?
14 for 49 yards.
What's that?
14 carries for 49 yards.
Yep, but the volume was there, and I was worried that it wouldn't be. So
Yeah.
I can't even use that as an excuse,
Yeah.
But anyway, he was good, and Tony Pollard was awesome. Tony Pollard in the Millie Maker was only 12%, but
Wow.
in some of those,
My most owned player.
Yeah, mine
What?
too.
He was my most owned player.
Was he?
63%.
In some of
95%.
those higher stakes, he was like 30, 40% in some of the higher stakes contests. So,
which is what he should have been.
Yeah, it's funny too because Zeke has stunk all year long, and Tony Pollard has the biggest game of any Cowboy on the season.
Yeah,
and he still only got 12 carries.
It was all in the passing game. He stunk on the ground, didn't he?
Yeah, well, until like the end of the game, he had a huge 40-yard touchdown.
Oh, that's it. That made the difference. Yeah, but at one point he had like 5 for 50 receiving and like 8 for 12 rushing or something.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
It was I was kind of laughing looking at his line because I was gonna play a bunch of Fournette and I still played some, but then once the Pollard news came, I just played a ton more Pollard. And so when Fournette passed Pollard, I was kind of pissed off because I was just like, Fournette's having a terrible game except for these touchdowns. And then I looked at Pollard's line and it was like, yeah, you can't really be complaining about that because it's the same thing.
So my dad's a Cowboys fan. They got here yesterday, so we're sitting watching Red Zone, and I knew Pollard was having like a fine day before that touchdown. I wasn't like I wanted more, obviously, but it wasn't a huge deal at the $5,200 price tag. And then I refreshed my Twitter feed, and 2 tweets immediately were just like, "Ha Pollard something about Zeke," and I was like, I think Pollard's about to break this run, and it's immediately like, and we go to Dallas, and I was like, Dad, I think Tony Pollard's going to score here. And he shook those guys off. 4 Niners run into each other, takes the touchdown to the house. I was like, there we go.
I would think that how many of the top like 1% lineups had Derrick Henry? Normally I would say at 28, not a ton, but I'm thinking it's probably a decent amount of people that went Henry, Fournette, and Tony Pollard or something like that.
Yeah, I would expect to see a decent chunk here. So let's see, 35, 30. Henry is in 25%. Pollard is Pollard in 56% of the top 1%. Fournette in 45%, and then Kamara in 32%. Henry's 4th.
So Kamara was still, even though he disappointed with 18, he was still in 30% of the top 1% lineups.
Yep.
Okay. Who was the highest? Who of the 1%? Who was most owned? Was it Pollard?
At any position, it's Hopkins 57%, then Pollard at 56. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Hopkins made more highlight reel catches yesterday than most players make in their careers. Like, just spectacular. And then Adam, you saw Ayuk at 29%. He came through again, maybe not the biggest game, but 22. You'll take that all day long. Jonathan Taylor with 20 DraftKings points. I was surprised that Emmanuel Sanders was in the top like 7 or 8 of ownership, even though Michael Thomas was out.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sanders was like my 3rd highest owned guy or something. So I got it. I was surprised by the Ayuk and Hilton ownership the most, I think, because in that mid-range, you can get to so many different receivers.
Yeah.
Whereas, like Sanders kind of was at a price tier where there wasn't a lot around him that made a lot of sense. Ayuk had, Terry McLaurin there. Hilton had guys around him. You had Corey Davis in that price range. So I thought it was kind of weird that there was that much ownership on those guys.
That's fair. Yeah, especially on Hilton. But Ayuk honestly didn't surprise me that much because his targets over the last 5 games are 11, 14, 9, 16, and 13. And then you have no Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, it definitely made sense. Like I thought it made sense that he got a lot of ownership. I just didn't think that he was like that far. I mean, I played Terry McLaurin over him in cash because I just didn't think that they should be the same price basically.
Josh, your biggest busts were clearly Cam Akers, and I don't even know how much I want to put on him. The offense led by Jared Goff yesterday was just dreadful. They got nothing going. Neither did Cam Akers, but again, the Jets' run defense gets no credit. They're actually not bad, so it's not a huge surprise. Jared Cook had less than 5 fantasy points. He was 15% owned, and then the Rams at 13.5%. That's why I pay it. Wow. Were they the highest owned defense? They were at 13.5%. They had 2 DraftKings points. Serves you right.
Football team was right behind them then, 12.5%. Also terrible. So,
and also much cheaper though.
Yeah. They ultimately were both bad, but it's a lot worse to be the Rams and pay $4,500 for 2 fantasy points.
Let's have some fun as we always do. See who, and then we're going to close the show out with the worst lineups. That is always the best part of the show.
Yeah.
What do we have as far as the top fantasy point scores relative to their ownership, because I was a little bit surprised. Jalen Hurts just right now is crushing the DFS game, even if he might not be an actual good quarterback. None of us know yet. But
24 of 44.
Yeah. But he can run, and he made some really big plays. Listen, he would have had, not even kidding, he should have had 45 fantasy points because Dallas Goedert he threw on the Dallas Goedert on the money. Now, was it a tough catch? Yes. Was it catchable? Yes. That would have tied the game up. Then they would have gone to overtime. It could have been even more absurd, but he was the highest scorer of anyone on the entire slate.
Would have been crazy if Dallas Goedert got that touchdown catch. That's for sure. Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Ryan Tannehill, top 3 scorers, all at quarterback. And then you get into Ridley and Hopkins. I didn't realize Ridley was the highest scoring wide receiver at 35. It's really helpful when he's my highest exposed wide receiver as well. So shout out to Calvin Ridley for that one. Hop, the Montgomery, which was gross, Tony Pollard, Matt Ryan, Lamar, Marvin Jones, Dalvin Cook, 29.9, 6.6% owned. To me, this is the biggest mistake that people made this week. I didn't understand the wild disparity between Henry and Cook.
Yeah. I guess that's a good point. That's a huge disparity in ownership.
34 to 6.5 at $500 cheaper.
Right.
I'm not saying that this is a gospel number. Fantasy Cruncher's projection that's in here is separated by 0.02.
Wow.
21.86 for Henry, 21.84 for Cook. Even if you think that's like not close and we should separate those things. I mean, they were the only 2 pay up options at running back, and they were separated by like 5x in ownership. I just didn't understand it at all.
It's interesting too, Adam, because if you look at it, Dalvin Cook came in well below his projected ownership as well.
Yeah, I'm with Josh there too. Like I think I was higher on Henry than Josh was, based on the fact that I know Josh played Cook in cash and I played Henry. Yeah. But in tournaments, I think I had like 13% Cook and like, I don't know, 18% Henry or something. I thought it should have been a lot closer too. It's just 2 guys that are getting like the same amount of work. It was a tougher matchup for Cook, but that is factored into everything. Is factored into projections and all that. So the fact that they projected very, very similarly and Cook was actually a little bit cheaper, it was really weird to me, the ownership difference.
By the way, if I would have known the ownership was going to be what it was, like I made a mistake playing Cook in that lineup. I didn't. He was like 2% owned in a monster single entry double up. I was like,
yeah,
2?
That's how I feel about my McLaurin versus Ayuk decision. Like, I preferred McLaurin, but I thought they were about the same. Once I saw that it was like 5% to 35%, I didn't feel very good.
I would have had your lineup if I knew that ownership was going to be so wild.
Yeah, that's why they're talking cash games. In case you guys missed that, not tournaments. Not saying they wanted to hire own guys in tournaments.
No, but yeah, that made no sense to me when I saw it. I was so happy to have, like, I didn't have a single share of Derrick Henry yesterday. It was the last thing we talked about on Live Before Lock. I was like, just out of the gate, if Dalvin Cook beats Derrick Henry by a half point, I don't need Derrick Henry at all.
There's a lot of people that get tied up in narratives too, though, man. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't influence it, but I had so many people tweeting me and talking about, because I had tweeted about the 2,000-yard potential season, and there were so many people saying lock him in. I mean, a lot of people lock him in, even at 9,500. So, like there's this, people bite on narratives, and hey, Derrick Henry was still good. I mean,
he could have had 4 touchdowns.
Yes, exactly. Listen, if Ryan Tannehill on that 17-yard scramble didn't get in and he was down at like the 1-yard line, which could have been very possible, and then another rushing touchdown, you're right. Derrick Henry, we'd have been looking at this and been like, oh, he was only 33% owned.
Derrick Henry had 70.
Also had like 14 points.
Yeah, it was bad.
What's that?
Darrington Evans also had like 14 points.
I saw that. Yeah. So it could have been a 150-yard 4-touchdown game for Derrick Henry. Easily.
Yeah, everyone talks about Henry getting quote unquote lucky when he has those 40-point games, but he very easily could have had a lot more points yesterday.
Yeah.
And he still had 30.
Yeah.
So, or no, sorry, he still had 28.2.
Yeah, stop giving him extra credit.
Highest high or lowest owned top performer, I guess you'd have to go to Matt Ryan, only 1.9%. That's impressive.
QBs don't count.
No, I liked Matt. Well, that's still really low, though. I mean,
Calvin Ridley was 7% owned.
Yeah, I know.
It's
crazy. I liked Atlanta this week, especially given that super low projected ownership. I didn't get to as much as I wanted, but there's no reason not to think that they could have gone off against the Tampa Bay team, whose weakness is clearly the secondary.
I think Josh's quote on our show yesterday was the Atlanta game could end up being what we want the KC and New Orleans game to be.
There you go. And it did. Honestly,
I assumed you were hanging me out to dry there for something stupid, but that one actually paints me in a good light.
Yeah, no, I was actually giving you credit for piggybacking on what I had said at first.
That Kansas City New Orleans game, was anyone surprised that it wasn't a monster shootout? It's not that surprising.
The crazy thing is it was a shootout. It just didn't go at all to where we wanted it to go. There were like 60 points.
What was the final score? 32-22?
32-29.
I think the Chiefs ran more plays than anybody in the league yesterday.
That's right. Saints did get that last touchdown in there, but it went to
Lil Jordan Humphreys.
Yes. Yeah.
What?
That is a real person.
That's right.
That plays for the Saints.
You're right. So
yeah, he had a touchdown. Taysom Hill had a touchdown. Mecole Hardman had a touchdown. Like,
you're right.
The game shot out. It just didn't do what we needed it to do for fantasy purposes. Emmanuel Sanders catches a 51-yard pass to the 2, and then Taysom Hill runs it in.
Yep.
What is this gentleman's name? Lil Jordan?
Lil Jordan Humphreys.
Lil Jordan. That's a name.
Oh yeah, no, he caught a touchdown that put him down by only a field goal that game. They had no chance of winning. They were outmatched. They were down by 2 scores for a while, but
their defense looked really good, and it just showed how amazing Mahomes is.
That's what Adam. Yes. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. You're going to slow Mahomes down sometimes, but it's just, you're never going to stop him. It feels
there was that one drive, and I think it was Romo pointed it out. Like, you're watching great defense, and then you're just watching Mahomes like run in circles and make like ridiculous plays. Like, how do you stop this?
If it's the fourth quarter and you know that they need points, it's almost like automatic thinking that, all right, Mahomes is just going to drive them downfield and get them points.
Yeah, it's amazing how good he is in multiple areas.
All right, well, it's about 11:40 Eastern time. We're almost 40 minutes into the show, and I think it's only fair that we spend the last 5 or so minutes exploring and investigating the bottom lineups for the Millie Maker. This is not to shame people, but it is to get a good understanding of what didn't work and maybe have some fun in the process. By the way, guys, all of these shows are available in podcast form. If you're just tuning in now, you can, of course, just rewind it back to the beginning, check it out on YouTube after we air, or go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, go to any places where these podcasts are available, type in Awesemo. We've got you covered. And for shows like this that have like a legitimate shelf life, well, you can check them out anytime. If you don't want to put your phone in your pocket, open, if you don't have YouTube Premium, you want to close it, get some work done, listen to it, check it out in podcast form, and give us a rating if you don't mind as well. It's greatly appreciated. And check the giveaway out at Awesemo_com on Twitter. Free year of Awesemo plus NFL content. And also the NFL Showdown ownership projections are entirely free today. Josh, we got it pulled up.
I'm going to cut you off for 1 second. I want to point something out for the Awesemo fans out there. We had 3 of the top 10 in the slant this week.
Nice.
And I mean we as in the back end. 1-800-EDDIE, the Colts, and Rinpack, all in the top 10 of the slant.
That is incredible. The Colts, by the way, you're going to see, I think, more from him going forward.
Yeah.
He's one of the best players out there, Steve Buzzard. He's joined us twice already, I think, on the contrary this year. And 1-800-EDDIE is, everyone always thought that was Eddie Fear. And
certainly not.
It's not. It's Eddie behind the scenes, who's just like a genius with everything, apparently DFS as well. And Rinpack's been climbing up the leaderboard, doing a killer job. He works behind the scenes too. So yeah. And by the way, if you're wondering, like a lot of those guys have influence on our tools as well, like working in concert with Alex Baker to make these tools. So
yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure I pointed it out, because I saw 3 different names in there and I was like,
for sure. That's why if you're not using,
that makes us look awesome.
if you're not using that promo code Caruso for $1 for an entire week of NBA, well, you're crazy. CARUSO. We good?
Yeah, we're good here. All right, let's see here now. Sorting by score all the way to I have it filtered by the top 1%. I was like, these scores are good.
There's a nice like 6-man or 5-man Seattle stack.
Okay, first of all, we got to talk about they're dummy lineups. 3 different people scored -1.
Are you in the slant or the milli maker?
I'm in the milli now, but the -1 lineups are placeholder garbage, which is a shame because if someone legit scored in the negatives with a real lineup, man,
they should get paid.
A lot of zeros of people just not putting in lineups, which you guys are morons.
You should get paid if you put a real lineup in and get a -1.
Okay, so that one's not real. There's too many boners in that. Fitzpatrick, Dalton. This Dalton lineup, I think, might be the one. Nope. That guy had Gaskin and stuff, so that doesn't work for me. Tua. This guy had Gesicki and DeAndre Washington. I mean, this one's kind of legit. Tua, DeAndre Washington, Gurley, Thielen, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Shaheen, Gesicki, Chiefs. So
the one below it has actual players, or the one above it, the Russell Wilson one next to it.
Okay. So this is going to be the one then. That's oh my god, onslaught. Russell Wilson, Chris Carson, Mostert, Metcalf, David Moore, Tyler Lockett, Will Dissly, Naheem Hines, 49ers.
That's a real lineup.
Yeah, that's a real one.
That is a real lineup. Wow. So Wilson, Carson, Mostert, Metcalf, Moore, Lockett, Dissly, Hines, and 49ers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is absurd.
See, you correlate your lineups and you get made fun of at the end of the show. You use ridiculous negative correlations and you win $1 million.
Come on, this is not good correlation. This is not.
Kushi 32 put in a stinker.
He has all 3 starting wide receivers, the starting tight end, and the starting running back.
Yeah. And he paired his defense and running back.
He did. That's right. But I mean,
gotta get that correlation, man.
If you're not including the lineman, he has the entire starting offense of the Seattle Seahawks.
I mean, the way this lineup looks, he would have been better off including some linemen.
Yeah, right. Wow. Any other good ones?
A lot of Russell Wilson at the ass end of this, that's for sure. Let's see what we've got here.
Yeah, Wilson stunk, huh? They have not looked as good lately at all. That offense has not looked great.
That's got to be a placeholder. Okay, this one's real, I think. Russell Wilson, Cam Akers, Dobbins, Metcalf, Lockett, Willie Snead, Dissly, Traquan Smith, Ramsey.
I actually don't hate that lineup outside of a couple guys.
Real quick, Jeff Chambers, speaking to the last guy in chat, said, and he used all 50,000 as well.
Well, yeah, you could use all 50. I don't think he was going to get duped.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's clearly an intentional 50K lineup. And he's like, oh, nice. Hit the cap. Sorry, go ahead.
Got it. No, this one, I mean, you probably don't need Metcalf and Lockett and Will Dissly. There's not much else, like, other than swapping out Will Dissly for whatever tight end you want to put in there. Like, that is not a problematic lineup.
Maybe playing somebody other than Willie Snead too, but
I don't see the point of Dobbins with Snead though.
Fair. Why? We just learned that running back plus wideout wins everything.
Yeah, I know, but in that situation, it's go ahead, Adam. What were you saying?
I mean, I was saying like the Ravens had one of the highest totals on the slate, so I get it, but also like I wouldn't do that.
There are just other spots I would have preferred to do that with, and it's not like Willie Snead is 3,500. He wasn't He's
could have just played Emmanuel Sanders.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So,
well, if it helps, that person had 10 lineups in this contest. They played that one twice.
Oh, well, that was wise. They felt great about it.
Very, very, very confident in that bad boy. All right, here's another one that's pretty random.
And that's not the crazy. It wasn't the crazy. That's not the wildest thing you'll ever see. So
yeah, it's a fine lineup. Like, if that won the milli, we would be saying like, okay, that's a weird build, but whatever. Like, it's not.
Yeah, just like everything that's winning lately.
Yeah, exactly.
Carson Wentz lineup, no go. This one has Ronald Jones in it. God, people. Okay, this one's a legitimate lineup that's also very much at the bottom. Phillip Rivers, Kenyon Drake, Hines, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, Trey Burton, Hawkinson, Pats D.
Okay. Yeah, that's something.
Not my cup of tea, but like there's no glaring mistakes.
I mean, if I'm playing Rivers, I can't imagine I'm playing two guys projected for probably like 6 fantasy points or less with him. That's an issue I have. Are you know what I mean? If I'm stacking a team, I want to at least have the guy that's projected for the most fantasy points on most of those teams.
Yeah, or at least, like, if you're not playing Hilton, at least play like Michael Pittman.
Right. That's what I mean. At least play two of the guys that have that real blow up potential. Yeah, that's were a lot of those guys viable, sure. But this is that not just one? You guys can tell me what you think, but does that not seem like one of those lineups that is there's always that interpretation of getting different and finding contrarian plays and leverage and stuff. And then there's the people that go way too far with it, where it's like everyone in the lineup is less than 2 or 5%.
Yeah, it's like you look, the idea is kind of to look at your lineup and say, like, if this thing happens, then I'm in a good position to win. But then you get lineups where it's like, well, if this thing happens, and then within that, this other weird thing happens, and then a third weird thing happens, I'm in really good shape.
Right. And in this case, it's like if 10 weird things,
right.
Yeah. If the world ends.
Yeah. If every game on the slate except the Colts game gets canceled for COVID, and then the Colts throw to their 4th and 5th receiving options, I'm in really good shape.
Who's the lowest? I'm going to add another piece to this segment. The lowest 150 max.
Okay.
N Longo 20. Mitch Trubisky.
I feel like that's easier to do than single entry because you got so many in there and so much. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh yeah. I mean, you're probably not paying attention to some of the stuff at the bottom too.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Just to look at it, N Longo 20, Trubisky, Mostert, Sony Michel, Thielen, Anthony Miller, DK Metcalf, Cole Kmet, AJ Brown, 49ers. That's a perfectly normal lineup.
Again, though, is it like I want one of Robinson or Mooney in those lineups? I'm stacking Mitch Trubisky with Cole Kmet and Anthony Miller.
I definitely did that yesterday. Well,
did you
with Kmet? I don't know that I had in double stacks. It was probably Robinson Kmet, but I definitely just had some Trubisky Kmet.
Okay.
Thielen run back, like that makes sense. It's again not my cup of tea, but
yeah, it's certainly not a bad lineup. I'm just
there's no mistakes in it really. It's just it ended up being
sense.
Bad. Yeah.
I have it set up to where if I'm stacking with at least two receivers and the quarterback, that the one of them has to be projected for a certain amount. And I don't know if I would have gotten there.
I have it. Yeah, I have it. So I have my the threshold a little bit lower for tight end, so I was able to get Trubisky Kmet.
Right. But what I'm saying is if it's with 2 pass catchers.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Did
I'm
anybody
double checking
finish
to make sure that my lowest scoring lineup in the slant wouldn't have counted or been worse than this. What was the low score here?
I don't know. I'm already past it. I'm trying to find a lineup without ignoring defenses to see if someone missed like what lineup is this? Ridley, Pollard. Guessing it's this one, right? Ridley. No, it's not that one.
What are you doing?
I want to find a lineup that like could have won the millie if they had one different player. So one of these lineups up here that's finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So whoever finished 9th, TNTZZZ, had 225 fantasy points, but they had Traquan Smith get a 3.5.
Oh.
So
and how much was Smith?
He was 3,200. So that might be a tough sell.
That's the thing. Yeah. What do you do instead? What did his defense have?
Let me look. 3,200, I said, right? Mm-hmm. Highest, Zach Pascal, Greg Ward. Zach Pascal had 25.
Yeah, but no one's playing.
Greg Ward had 17.5. I mean, Greg Ward was over 1% owned.
He was, yeah, likely all with Hurts lineups.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're not playing Zach Pascal probably, but I just thought it was interesting that he had a guy that was like a very clear, nothing.
Certainly is. My highest owned defense was the Atlanta Falcons, and that looked really good for a while, like all the way through 3 quarters. Basically, they were just really cheap. They were what, $2,300, and ultimately, I guess it didn't really make much of a difference because if you paid for the Rams,
Sixth place had 9.4 from Chenault as well.
Okay.
3,800. If Chenault, and it's not really tied to anything. So what did I say? 3,800?
Yeah.
It's not really changing it. Higbee, Greg Ward, Pascal, nothing else really all that interesting at the top. So nothing very obvious. Like, if you just had this different punt that wasn't owned, you just print $1 million. Instead, you win 15 grand.
It all came down to having one of Fournette, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Hopkins, and either Murray or Hurts, but Hurts certainly opened it up. The last thing I want to check here before we move on is what do you guys think Hurts price tag is going to be for this week?
I was thinking that he's kind of at that point where if it goes up a bunch, then you're not going to be able to trust him and he'll be like a tournament play. But if it doesn't go up, he's going to be like the highest owned guy on the slate.
All right.
60, 62, 63, something like that.
I'll tell you.
Who do they play?
Cowboys.
Take a guess. All right. I got it up here.
68.
He's facing Dallas. What do you think he is?
68.
63.
Yeah. 7K flat.
I think that's about where it should be.
He probably should be. He's the 6th highest priced quarterback on this slate after just 2 starts.
Is Kyler on the slate?
Kyler is not on the slate.
Okay.
Mahomes
Lamar?
is 8,500. Lamar is 8K. Watson 76. Herbert 74. Wilson 73. And then Hurts rounds out what I'm considering the top tier of 7K plus.
If you told me Lamar was 8K, I would have guessed higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mahomes and Lamar both have seen their prices come up because Mahomes yesterday was what, like 8K, 7,900.
79. Lamar was 75.
Yeah,
right. So it looks like
7.
a lot of these guys have come up quite a bit. Deshaun Watson went from 68 up to 76, but he's got the Bengals. So
that's why I didn't want to go so high. Like Kyler at 7K this week, I didn't think that Hurts would take that huge of a jump.
I still think based on the pricing and quarterbacks you named, obviously I don't know what the pricing looks like below him, if there's anybody cheap that stands out, but I would assume that I'm looking at Hurts pretty hard in cash.
Yeah. When you're certainly not getting a discount on him, but his prices come up along with pretty much everyone else.
Right. When you're looking at running quarterbacks that, have a nice floor and have upside, you're either paying a ton for those other guys or you're getting a little bit of a discount on Hurts.
Matt Ryan against the Chiefs at 5,800 should be a fun one. Trubisky at 57 against Jacksonville. All right. Well, this is going to be fun. We're going to talk about it all week long, Tuesday all the way up through Sunday. We got Saturday football. We got Christmas Day football. We got basketball. Josh, you also have your pre-recorded videos that come out for these primetime games as well.
Yeah, which is not going to be a blast along with NBA this week, but you got to do. Christmas holiday, so much NFL showdown and random slates plus NBA every day. It's going to be a lot, but churning it all out. You're getting a ton of NFL from me this week.
Yes, sir. And you can check out the strategy show for the showdown. Like I mentioned, former defensive end for the Bears, Alex Brown's been joining Matt Gajeski and myself. It's been a ton of fun. We just got done that show. I go straight into this one. Check it out again, podcast, YouTube, Awesemo channel, whatever. Check out all of Josh's videos as well. These are what I call smoke break videos, right? Or firing off a dump videos. And you watch 7 minutes long. Perfect. Get what you need. He runs his simulations. Got some competition in that field now, though, Josh.
I do.
Yeah. And Adam, what do we got coming up? We got a ton of shows for NBA coming up over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Strategy show starting off tomorrow. I think Josh is on that. NBA Live Before Lock. You and I will be back for the NBA deep dive every day during the week.
Yeah, we got a lot.
Dive.
So
I'll be writing the deep dive article in front of the paywall this year.
Oh, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So that'll be in front of the paywall this year, our most in-depth article. And then Loughran and I will be on the deeper dive show every weekday, going through the slate game by game.
Yeah, the fact that we're putting that in front of paywall is huge. Adam and I have been writing this article for a long time now. He's taken over the main honors of doing so, and it's a fantastic article. I honestly think from day to day, at least when you and I were both doing it, and now when you're taking it over, it's the best like in-depth, comprehensive NBA article out there that you're going to find for each slate. And now it's going to be ahead of the paywall. So we'll stop talking. We'll get out of here. Follow Adam, ShipMyMoney DFS on Twitter. I can't help it, man. It's
I did it yesterday, and I did it yesterday, and just
you and I do a lot of shows with both of these guys, so it's tough.
Yeah,
I
blame you for it.
I blame nobody.
No, I blame you because you do it, and then I think about the fact that you do it, and it makes me do it.
Don't follow Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman and myself. You should follow me, Loughran_D, LOUGHY_D, and Awesemo at Awesemo_com at your own risk. We'll be back here next week for the last one. Monday morning strategy, Monday morning quarterback show, Monday morning quarterback edition. Thanks for hanging out with us all season, guys. This has been a lot of fun, and hopefully you're getting something from this because I know I do every time we do this on Monday morning. We'll see you soon.